The Shrine of Order. Now, I'm sure most of you have seen the Shrine of Order changes, and today I want to go into actually how these changes specifically impact build making, being the build guy. And I want to get into how it impacts builds now, how it's going to impact future build making, and how it actually impacts older builds. And before we get into this, I just want to preface, no, it's not the end of deepwoken builds. Your builds are still going to be fine. Even older builds are still pretty usable and pretty fine. So, yeah, the changes I feel like have been blown up in proportion a lot. And I want to go over basically the mentality to why the devs done the changes and how it actually just impacts builds in general. But getting into how it actually impacts builds, now, essentially the mentality behind the Shrine of Order changes is, I was speaking about this a bit on stream as well, is that they want to make it so everything that you shrine down above 40 points, or at 40 points, they want it to be nerfed post-shrine. This way, it makes it so you're basically trying to figure out what's the best thing to go for post-shrine. For example, would you rather have a little bit less posture or a little bit more resistance? So, no, a little bit less resistance. So you're weighing up your options, essentially. And this is going to make it so the meta, when it comes to build making, is going to be more around, like, what you want to sacrifice and what you really can't sacrifice. For example, in one of my more recent builds, I ended up going post-shrine fortitude, which is usually something I never do, by the way. I don't go post-shrine fortitude often. It's like one of the few things I always shrine down. But, and that might even be confusing to you right now, is because, hold on, out of all the things that they did nerf, fortitude was not one of the things they did nerf. Like, exoskeleton and to the finish haven't been hit with a nerf at all. Which, to that I say, I hate to be the one to break it to you, but they are definitely on the list to being nerfed as well. Literally anything across the board above 40 stat points that you can shrine down is going to be hit with a scaling nerf. So I figured I'd probably want my resistances to be as high as possible, so I went fortitude post-shrine, and I went willpower post-shrine, just because I want my ether that I get from being hit, so magical resolve, I believe the talent is. I want that to be as high as possible as well, especially with being in an ether drought and all. So yeah, in my build that I make, in the build that I made recently, I actually sacrificed my strength and my agility. And that might even be a little bit more confusing to you guys, because you know for a fact that strength definitely did get nerfed. Unwavering resolve actually has less scaling now and gives you less posture back on parries. And to that, I was like, that's just the consequence of the update. I'm just gonna firm it. The build just didn't work if I did fortitude. So if I did strength pre-shrine and posted it and got the talents post-shrine. So I got the talents pre-shrine and got the effect post-shrine. So I just sacrificed it, and that's what this update's all about. You're going to have to make sacrifices with your builds now, and generally speaking, every single build across the board has gotten hit with a pretty big nerf. Now, there are ways of working around all the nerfs, and we're going to get into that shortly as well. But for any build that you make, essentially, that's going to be shrining down some of your core attributes that have like lower investments, they're all going to be nerfed pretty heavily. Specifically, any build that is like 80-80 with 80 into your weapon and 80 into your attunement, those builds are suffering definitely the most. I've recently made an 80 ice build, 80 ice, 80 medium weapon, and that build was very tight on the points. I had to sacrifice, like I said, both strength and my agility. But going off of it again, just looking at what I'm sacrificing and what's worth it and what's not worth it, I figured agility, like the things I'm getting out of it and the things that are being nerfed down by me shrining aren't really that deep. For example, I picked up risky moves. Risky moves is below 40, so nothing there gets sacrificed. But even if I went up to 40 and I got ghost, you hardly ever use the full like 3 seconds of ghost, or like, I don't know if it's 3 seconds, but the full duration of ghost. So it being nerfed is not that deep, or being shrined down is not that deep when it comes to agility. Maybe unless you go 60, then it might be a bit impactful. But even then, I think agility is one of the things that you can still definitely shrine down. What else? I also did like I said, my strength. Now, that one there is a bit more of like a noticeable change, having one of your most important posture talents be like cut in half. But again, it's just a sacrifice that you kind of have to make when you're going 80 medium, 80 attunement. So yeah, those types of builds are definitely the ones that are being impacted the most. And in retrospect, being able to get 80 into your weapon and 80 into your attunement and then still have a lot of core talents, it was very strong game design wise. So it makes sense that the devs are actually nerfing a Shrine of Order. But getting into like less on how it impacts builds and why the devs actually decided to nerf the Shrine of Order. The devs have complained about Shrine being a game design issue and trying to balance around it for ages now. It's definitely been more than a few years that they've been complaining about it. Ever since they introduced Shrine of Order, it's been a balancing nightmare for them. They managed to tone it down like over the over the past like year or so. But now it's like the final nail in the head when it comes to balancing. By shining down everything post, it's like bringing down everyone down a notch. But not to say they want to make everyone weaker. It's more so that when they do bring in new game designs or like new mechanics that make people more powerful across the board, it doesn't cause as much of a power creep issue, which definitely does make sense if you're looking at it from a game design standpoint. So it's understandable. Now, whether or not if this is good or bad, it's definitely going to be kind of cooked for the first couple weeks. But I think as the community adjusts, it's not going to be that deep. Now, going into how you can actually work around the shrine changes, there are ways of making builds that can still be perfectly fine after the changes. And this is because of a change that they've done a while ago. They've recently made it so going 90 fortitude post is essentially useless. I don't want to say useless. It's still like you can still pull it off, but it is significantly weaker. There is like basically no point of going 90 fortitude post right now, and because of that, it made it so a lot of builds that do get 90 fortitude post just don't get as much benefit out of it. And those builds specifically are no attunement builds and elemental and legendary weapon builds. Those two builds almost always on a competitive level got 90 fortitude post shrine. So yeah, post shrine. I said that right. Post shrine. And now, because of the changes that they've done to making it so any health fortitude above 50 gives you half the health, and the nerfs to the health given from the talent's reinforced armor, basically going 90 fortitude post is useless. It's out of the meta completely. So instead, what you can do is to avoid these shrine changes and having your talents be nerfed post shrine, you can just get everything post shrine and shrine down only a few things. For example, you can make a no attunement build where you, I don't know, you go like higher agility and shrine it down, and go higher charisma and shrine it down, because those things aren't as bad when you shrine it down. Like, I don't believe there's much repercussion from having like less charisma, for example, because if you go like 75 and have like a good crit damage, and you still get like the good post shrine benefits of charisma, and you go like 60 agility and you still get like all the good dodge talents and ganking talents, you can shrine it down, and then you can still get like fortitude post. You can get your strength post and still have all that post and no attunement and still have more than enough room to go into your weapon, or even get going high willpower post as well. So no attunement doesn't get affected by this update as much, so you're still able to leverage that. And by going high fortune, by the way, you only need to go 50 on every single build. I recommend only going 50 fortune, never go above it. Only for like maybe special occasions or special like more unique type builds. But generally speaking, 50 fortune is more than enough. And the only other type of build that I recommend that doesn't actually get as affected by the shrine changes is legendary weapon builds, specifically weapons like Kiss Winter, or for example Crit Blade, or just, you know, literally any fucking legendary weapon that has a bit of medium or heavy or light scaling. All of those usually have around like 50 or 40 weapon requirement, and that's enough points that you can still get those requirements and you can still get a few things post. Those builds are still really, really strong. For example, the other day I was making a Curved Blade of the Winds build for a member of mine, a YouTube member, by the way, in the Discord server, and I realized when making the build after taking the new changes into mind, that these builds are hardly affected by the shrine changes. They are still able to get all the good talents simply because there's no way you can justify going 90 fortitude anymore. Before, they had a bunch of spare points, you dump it into fortitude, be slightly more tanky. Now they have a bunch of more points, and you can't really dump it into fortitude because it's nerfed. So now you just dump it into the points that you would normally save on. So those builds are hardly affected. And the main builds, like I said, that I've really cooked from this are the 80-80 builds. I think there's still a few good stat sheets that you can make, but they have to compromise a decent amount. The build that I made, like I said, compromises on strength and agility. But again, with literally every single build across the board, if you want to use Shrine of Order, you have to find a compromise, because the Shrine of Order still has a level 8 requirement. So you still need to get certain points up to a certain level and shrine it down. So either way, every build still has to make compromises. Some builds make less compromises than others. So generally speaking, if you don't want to be as impacted by the Shrine of Order change, I highly recommend either making a no attunement build if you want to only play if you want to go high weapon. Let me say that again. If you want to go high weapon, make a no attunement build. If you want to go an attunement, make a legendary weapon build. That's the best way of doing it right now. Or go low investment weapon build. That's the only way you can really negate the Shrine of Order changes, or like not be as affected by them. Or you can still be an absolute Chad and go 80 medium, also 80 weapon, 80 attunement, and have the compromises from going Shrine. And generally speaking, I want to get into how bad the actual nerfs are. It's not that bad. I feel like people made it seem a lot worse than it actually is. For example, like I already said, the agility changes Ghost is not that deep. You hardly ever use the most of Ghost. So you can still go 40 agility pre-shrine and get the most out of agility. The only other thing that I'd say is going to be pretty bad is Fortitude. Fortitude's going to be pretty bad. If you have Fortitude pre-shrine, those builds are definitely going to be hit with slight nerfs. Strength as well. One of the most important talents. What do you call it? The one that makes it take less posture. I forget the name. Unwavering Resolve. Unwavering Resolve got hit with basically 50% less posture gains. That one's pretty rough. But generally, and Charisma as well. That's the last one I forgot. Charisma, I believe it went from giving you a 25. Oh no, I think it went from giving you a 15%, not including the charm effect, base charm effect, gave you 15% less damage when you're below 30%, and that got shrined down to, I believe, 10%-ish, something like that. But generally speaking, everything is just a notch weaker, and it's more of a thing of what do you want to sacrifice. And I think the meta is definitely going to shift towards going Fortitude post. That's like pretty solid on what that's pretty safe to say is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, ending off this video, definitely do expect everything to be nerfed. This is not the end of it at all. Like, it's pretty safe to say everything and anything across the board that's above 40 investment in your core attributes are going to be hit with nerfs. I hope attunements are safe for the most part, and everything when it comes to attunements stays above 75 or like around 100 investment level. But I don't think I feel like attunements should have, and this might be the case as well, attunements should have a higher bar for where post shrine gets affected, because attunements are supposed to be shrine down. That was like the whole point of Shrine of Order to begin with. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on the Shrine of Order situation. I don't think it's that bad. If your old builds are still probably fine, everything's gonna be slightly more nerfed. So slightly more, just slightly nerfed. So yeah, subscribe, like the video, join my Discord server. All right, Kato out.